So anyway, Todd, you were telling me the other day about a client who settled a commercial property in cash because their bank pretty much just dropped the ball and didn't turn up for settlement.
Well, I mean, you can say they dropped the ball. I'm not sure that that's always the case. Sometimes what happens, not necessarily in this case, but sometimes what happens is when people buy a commercial property or any property, they have an expectation about when they want to settle, and that may not match with the timeframes of getting things done.
So the dates and the things that the client wanted to do didn't line up with what the bank could or wanted to do.
Well, yeah. So, for example, particularly with commercial property, a lot of people forget or don't know that applications take longer to process. There's typically more information that's needed. You might have people who run their own business. They've got to supply financials. Maybe their financials are not ready yet and they didn't know that they had to do that. Commercial valuations take longer. A commercial valuation, typically we would say, will take 14 days. There's a lot of factors with a commercial valuation that are not involved with residential valuations.
Yeah.
That might involve, rental income for the property. Is the property a warehouse or is it a mixed use or is it a retail shop? All of those have got different considerations and it takes time to get through.
Yeah.
So in this case, the client had a settlement date they had to meet. They could not get an extension from the vendor. So their choice was we either settle this property or we lose our deposit, which in some cases can be quite a few $100,000 depending on what you're buying.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, really. But
no one wants to lose a deposit, right?
It doesn't matter what it is.
No.
Right? So, and the bank just physically could not get to settlement. Now, fortunately, these clients had cash.
Yeah, so if they had cash, what do they need the bank for?
Well, deployment of capital is important in terms of the returns that you get. So, if they could take that cash, for example, and put it back into their business.
Yeah.
Let's say they've got a business where if they buy stock and they resell that product, they make 100%.
Yeah.
And the bank debt costs them 7%. It would make more sense to reinvest the money back into their business and to use the bank's debt to buy the building.
Yeah, for the cheaper rate.
For the cheaper rate, yeah. Their cost of capital is lower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's an opportunity cost, I guess, right? Because you're not guaranteed that you're going to get the 100% or 30% return back into your business, but that is perhaps what historically you've got, right? So then you would use the bank to fund a long-term asset and then keep your cash to put back into your business and turn over into larger profits.
Yeah, right. And that's what they did in this instance. So they bought cash, they pulled it from the business, bought cash.
Mm.
So what was the time frame after that? Did they end up getting the bank involved again?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
No. So, because they're annoyed.
Yeah, right.
And they'd already had, because often what happens once people go through with a transaction, they don't need the money anymore.
Yeah, well, still the pressure's over, right?
Right. And from a broking or banking perspective, if you're not involved in the transaction, you probably lost the transaction. So the bank could have settled later.
Yeah.
They did have the money available, but by then the clients were like, well, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah,
and by the way, you annoyed
me.
Yeah. A lot, right? Put me under a lot of pressure. Even if that pressure could have been manufactured by the client themselves at the start by putting in a contract that couldn't have been met.
Sure.
Perhaps they had the wrong advice or didn't take advice or didn't seek advice around that. Or perhaps there was just a comedy of errors throughout the transaction which put them in a situation where they couldn't settle. We don't know those details. We can only tell you one story, and that is the client's story. The bank couldn't settle.
Yeah.
So we bought it with cash.